Welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software for the professional home builder. This is a continuation in a series of videos about how to set up and then to post bills that were paid by credit card. And as I mentioned in the first video previous to this, if you go pay somebody like Joe the plumber or somebody with a credit card, in CHS you will be posting that bill or whatever you paid that person as a bill to Joe the plumber. You'll be posting it there, and then you'll have the opportunity to do a selection to mark that bill as paid by a credit card and select which credit card it was paid by. And CHS will start tracking those charges in credit card ledgers that can be reconciled to your credit card account, etc. So in this video, we're going to talk about posting a bill and then marking it as paid by credit card, and then we'll look at the effects of that on the credit card payable account that we set up in the first video, etc. So we're going to go to Post Payables. We have several other videos about the basics of posting accounts payable bills. Most anything you're paying, whether it's with a credit card, a debit card, a check, etc., that you pay out to the outside world in whatever way, will be entered by doing Post New Payables Records and then selecting the vendor that you paid. In this case, we're going to play like we paid our lumber company, ProBuild, that we're taking care of a bill and that we're paying it with the credit card. It could be that we paid it with the credit card already and we're now just posting the receipt or whatever it is. But we're going to create a job-related bill with this because this is related to a job. We selected ProBuild. So we're going to get an alert because we set up ProBuild. If you see about setting up vendors, etc., we marked it that they will give us a payment discount if we pay, I believe, within 10 days, and I think it's 2%. So the first thing that it's detected is that payment discount is available, and it asks if we'd like to post the payment discount. So we'll go ahead and do that. And a lot of builders either will post the discount to job costs and go ahead and let that flow through to job costs, or they won't. They'll say, no, I take those discounts. Maybe they have a cost plus markup. They don't want to, for some reason, put that discount on the job costs itself. So it's asking that question, but we'll just go ahead and let ours go to job cost. I think in my help manual I told it no, but so it's opened a field over here that's really already sort of set up for us. It's going to supply the same GL account for the discount as we're using for our main entry, and our vendor is set up to have a default GL account of $14.30 for direct construction costs. And we set up our vendor, when we set the vendor up, we told it that it was a 2% discount. To make this go faster, we do have some purchase orders for this vendor, and we're going to go ahead and select one of them for our job, and we'll select this one. It's a purchase order. I'm doing that just so we can get all these fields filled in. All of these fields are discussed at great length in other videos behind the help here. But by having purchase orders and by selecting a purchase order, the cost code's filled in, the job, the title of the PO, etc. And you can change the invoice number if you have a particular invoice number from that lumber company, etc. Change the invoice date. I'm going to set this one back to saying maybe it was March 2nd. It's telling me that I set it up to use 10 days, and some of the other ways you set it for due dates, it'll calculate it for you, but your browsers don't really like to add days to dates very well, so I just tell you that you've set it up for 10 days, so I set the due date. So anyway, that part's filled in, and the purchase order had sales tax on it, so you can see down here the total is this, the sales tax amount is this, the total with tax is this, and the discount that they provide is this, and hopefully all of that matches whatever the company has given you. But we're going to pay them this net amount of $11,422.19 by credit card. So I'm going to submit this bill. It's going to take a moment to check to see if it needs to alert you about this cost code for lumber being over or anything. It didn't find any overages. So I'm given some options, and it explains the options here, but one of them is post as paid by the credit card. And it tells you first the program will post the bills as unpaid because it just needs to work in a logical order, and then a window will open to select a credit card vendor to post them as paid by credit card. So if I use that button, that's the button we're talking about in these videos, is I'm going to mark this as paid by a credit card. In our first video, we set up a credit card vendor for our Discover card, and we're paying that with that particular card, not our Amex this time, etc. And so I'm going to select that credit card vendor, and if you'll notice, it has now dropped in the default GL account on our chart of accounts 2133 that we set up called Credit Cards Payable Discover 6. I'm going to show you what CHS is going to do and how that impacts that GL account. It's posting the original entry to the 1430 account we use for direct construction costs, and now it's going to create an entry to actually take this out of unpaid payables, accounts payable, and put it over as a credit to the credit card payable account, which actually increases that account. So I will submit this, and then it'll tell me that it's been posted. If I'd like to review those entries that it did just post to see how they look, it posted 3 entries, one for the base amount of the bill, one for the sales tax, and it does this separately with the sales tax cost type, so you can do some great reports for that home buyer that wants a list of all sales taxes that you paid on the job costs. So we separate those into 2 lines, and we have a 3rd line for taking that discount. In our case, we said yes, post it to job costs, so it does have a cost code on it, the same as the other ones. So it's lowering your job costs, and like I showed you before, you can have an option for that. This is outside of the thing, but the main thing is that it shows that it was paid on the date that we entered with this cash account, it calls it, but this is actually the credit card payable account on our chart of accounts. And you can tell it was really paid by a credit card because the check number that CHS supplies will start with CC for credit card and a hyphen and a random number or a number that sort of goes with the entry number there. On this window, you can also upload a copy of the bill and attach it. You might attach it to that one. You can write any notes that you'd like anybody that's approving the bills or looking at the bills later on the estimated cost of completion. You can write notes about this bill if you like. It's a communication tool. So anyway, this has been marked as paid by credit card. So in our first video, we set up that credit card payable account 2133. So let's go take a look at that account just in our accounting outside of this payables thing. Let's go to our accounting database. And let's say let's just put we can see the beginning and end dates, but we'll just start with let's just do 0101 2016 to 0331 2016. And we want to take a look at that credit card payable 2133 account. And this is the accounting stuff, and we want to see what entries have been posted to that credit card payable account. And you can see here that what it did was supply a Z vendor, because actually we already have our entries and payables to the right vendor. These are the entries that CHS has taken and posted to the credit card payable account, coming up with a balance on that credit card that would show up on our balance sheet of $11,422 as a credit card payable. And you can see how CHS posted these 3 entries to handle that. And those are credits because liability accounts like credit cards payable are naturally a credit, and a credit means a minus sign, and on liability accounts in accounting that actually increases that account, and debits decrease. When we pay the credit card company here in a minute, in another video following these, you'll see that there's a debit that gets posted here which would lower this account. So if I close that and I just ran over and I just did a balance sheet under financials, you'll see, let's just do a simple balance sheet. Let's use one with the GL numbers on it. And we'll look at this balance sheet, and if you start looking down it, you're going to see in our first video we set up a separate little section, group heading section, to hold our credit cards. And you'll see that right now under current liabilities it's showing that we have $11,422.19 for this credit card payable as a liability on our balance sheet. Now if you go to the place where you can look at your credit card ledgers, and I'll pull that up, it's going to give you a drop-down list of every vendor that you marked as a credit card vendor. And I'm selecting our Discover 6 one, and I'll continue to look at my credit card ledger. Now this shows this in positive amounts here because this is actually just a credit card ledger. It's no longer our general ledger for the 2133. These are actually the same entries except that it's showing here so you can do a credit card reconciliation. You might have gotten a statement and this is the balance that's on it because this is the only person that you paid with this. We will be coming back to this credit card ledger as we go through these videos and talking about how you can do some editing, how you do your reconciliation to your credit card statement, etc., changing some things, or maybe even changing the amount, because it's another thing. But you'll see that in future videos. So that particular bill to ProBuild has been marked as paid, would not show up on your unpaid payables because it's been marked as paid by a credit card. And that's how CHS is handling that, so you can always pull up a ledger of ProBuild so that it's not just under some vendor called Discover, which a lot of us accountants have done in the past. But if I do a payables transaction ledger and I want to see everything that I paid ProBuild this year so far, and I just select ProBuild because I'm wanting to look at all their bills, and I open a transactions ledger for ProBuild, I can see everything we've paid ProBuild during that time period I selected. So we've done some others where we paid them, and you can see over here, these are unpaid actually. We have not paid those. Those are on our accounts payable. And I'm going to go show how if you decide to pay some of these by credit card, some of these that you already posted previously, how you can mark those as posted by credit card after the fact, sort of. So here's our three entries that we had, and I can tell these have been paid by the status, when, and that it was by a credit card. So that's why we post credit card charges to the vendor that was paid with the credit card, so we can keep track of what we paid ProBuild. We don't want all three of these posted to some generic vendor called Discover because it'll be all mixed up and we'll never be able to pull by vendor what we paid that vendor. So in our next video we're going to talk about how that, in that case, if they charge you some interest, the credit card company, or if you have a credit card for, say, like Lowe's, you're going to need to set up basically two vendors, one that's for Lowe's charges, for paying, the charges you do to Lowe's, and then another one that's Lowe's, the credit card vendor. And we'll talk about that in the next one, or how you post interest expense that the credit card company is charging you, and so on. So hopefully that helps, and we'll continue to the next video, and thank you for watching.